Aaron Taylor Johnson might be 007. Avatar has made Disney a crap load of money, and the HBO Max Purge just continues to go on. We're talking all that and more on the Chatter After Daily. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Welcome to the Chatter After Daily, the show where we're talking all of the day's movie news. I'm your host, Michael Thomas. Joining me, Jack. How you doing, man? I know you just got in.
I'm good. I just came home from work. I have the dirt. I have the dirt on my face to prove it, but I'm ready to talk movie news with you.
We've got a lot of stuff on the docket, though. One that I am very excited to get into, and I want your thoughts on this. We've got
Yeah,
James Bond, right? Aaron
yeah,
Taylor Johnson is rumored to be the next 007. This is coming
mhm,
from Collider via Puck
mhm,
News,
yeah,
and it says that Aaron Taylor Johnson has met with one of the producers for the
mhm,
role of James
yeah,
Bond, and apparently it went very well.
mhm,
So we just had Daniel Craig step out of the role, who's been killing it with Glass Onion recently.
mhm, yes,
And Taylor Johnson has played in action roles before, such as Kick-Ass,
mhm,
Godzilla, Avengers: Age of Ultron. He's
mhm.
gonna be Kraven the Hunter coming up later this year, if that
I'm
actually
sure. I'm
hits.
sure that'll. I'm sure that'll go very well. Craven the Hunter, very
Yeah,
well indeed.
of course. Every Sony Spider-Man movie that doesn't feature Spider-Man, great success. Morbin time all over again. But I think he's a good actor. What are your thoughts on him, like potentially becoming the next 007?
I think it's interesting. I like that. He's a bit of a younger dude. I think he's only in his 30s though.
Yeah.
Bond's a bit of a he can be a bit of a tricky character to cast though. I think part of me kind of wishes they go for just a complete no name. Not that
Mhm.
Aaron Taylor Johnson's like some big name star. Obviously, he's been in plenty of movies, Godzilla, Avengers. He was in Tenet, I remember as well.
Yeah.
Um, but like if he ends up being James Bond, cool. But maybe it's just I don't know. I kind of like it when they go for like small names or like almost up and coming names for like big roles like this though. Same with like superhero, excuse me, superhero characters and such.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I think it's funny how you mentioned going for unknowns, because in the comments here, shout out to our guy Isaac Wolf from the Amateur Otaku and frequently on the Chatter After. He left this
Mhm.
comment and it says they should think outside the box and put Ian McKellen or Patrick Stewart as Bond. That or Ricky Gervais. And
No.
no,
Actually,
Isaac, I appreciate your
I
enthusiasm, but no.
I did see that I do like that what's it called? Mr. Holmes, is it? Where Ian McKellen played a
Yeah.
really old Sherlock Holmes. That I really like though. So, you know what? Screw it. I want an older James Bond now. Give me a 90-year-old James Bond.
90-year-old James Bond. We
Yeah.
get Daniel Craig to do it again in like 20 years, just like how Harrison Ford is back playing Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
old man Bond. Um,
Yeah.
but
I would
yeah,
well, yeah. Mhm.
you mentioned that he's 30 something, right? And that's actually
Mhm.
something that one of the producers said when they were looking to recast the role. They said, again, this is coming from Collider, quote, "Remember, Bond's already a veteran. He had some experience. He's a person who has been through the wars, so to speak. He isn't some kid out of high school that you can just bring in and start off. That's why it works for a 30 something." And
Mhm.
I think that's why this pick of Aaron Taylor Johnson works. I'm with you though. I think I would have gone with somebody a complete no name, because you always have the whole thing of if it's a name everybody recognizes, you run into the issue of, well,
Excuse me.
why wasn't it Idris Elba?
Yeah, I was just about to say, make it Idris Elba, then everyone would be talking about it.
Exactly. And so if you do this, it's got to be like, we've got this guy over Idris
Yeah.
Elba. But if you go with complete
Um,
unknown, you probably are easier. You probably have an easier time justifying the casting, right?
yeah. Um, but you know, whatever happens with Bond, it'll happen, I guess. I mean, that's probably like we're probably years away from the next James Bond film featuring a new actor. So,
Yeah. I
mhm.
do think this is an interesting story, though. Going on, if you want to move to topic number two. Uh,
But just to finish up, it's interesting he said the meetings went very well though, because like And I remember that it's sometimes it's always one of those things where it's like you'll hear like a dozen names be mentioned or whatnot, or like actors meet for roles or something, and it's like it went
Right.
very well, and then the role ends up going to somebody nobody expected though.
It
It's
it
like when Ben
reminds
Affleck. It's like when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. There were like a dozen names being mentioned. Not one of them was Affleck.
That's how it always goes. It reminds me of recently we had James Corden come out and say that he auditioned for Sam, right? Samwise in Lord of the Rings, and he's like, I got a call back, and then suddenly nobody else heard anything, and it's just like, thank God we did not get him as Sam in Lord of the Rings. They went with
Please don't.
relatively unknown. They went with Rudy, right? But it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
dodged a bullet. It's funny
Yeah.
that you mentioned though that they come sometimes throw out a name and then it's always the person you least expect. It reminds me a lot
Mhm.
in sports, right?
Yeah.
Whenever a football player, NFL football player for the UK audience who doesn't understand that when I say football, but whenever a football player is on the trading block, right? Somebody like Odell Beckham Jr., whenever he's demanding a trade or is looking to sign somewhere, a team always pops up, and it's always the Green Bay Packers. Whether that they are looking at the player or not, it's just to drum up interest and to drum up somebody you least expect, right? They're using the Packers as leverage. So it could be they throw this name out there, and then it's like, okay, the guy we really want is going to either have to negotiate with us to get him slightly cheaper, or whatever it takes to get him on to the role. So this could be bait, is what I'm essentially saying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But also, like, I just think of like other. Remember that Steve Jobs movie with Michael Fassbender though? There were like four big names that all went through that thing, like Christian Bale, DiCaprio. I think there was one other.
yeah,
So, I mean, he could. Again, we shouldn't take this as like confirmation 100%. Aaron Taylor Johnson is James Bond though. It doesn't happen until I'm sitting there in the theater. It happens type deal though.
yeah,
So just see what happens, I guess. Like I said, this is probably years away though, so I
it's
don't
yeah.
really know how much you can read into that. So,
Like, do they
but I
even have a
like that.
script for a new Bond, right?
No, I think it's one of those things. The character comes first, then story comes later. So
Yeah.
go figure. All right,
Well,
moving on, I guess.
we'll move on. This one should get you pretty excited, though. Disney
Yay!
is making all of the money. It's thanks to these guys,
Really,
by the way. We doubted
all of
for
the
some
money.
reason all of the money, just
Um,
like all the money. Walt Disney Company was the number one studio in 2022 as far as box office. This is coming from Deadline. Quote, no surprise here, Walt Disney's the number one studio at the box office, not just worldwide, with $4.9 billion, but also domestically with $2 billion and overseas with $2.9 billion. This comes
that's
after an
crazy.
initial New Year's weekend, which saw Avatar, The Way of Water, overperforming. I just want to pause right there for a second. Avatar 2 has been memed for the last decade, right? Nobody cares about Avatar. Who's going to see this? Is it going to make any money? Blah, blah, blah.
I had a coworker at work. I should have made money bets with him because he said it won't make. He said, I'm not kidding. He said it won't even make $100 million.
That,
The opening weekend worldwide, it makes nearly $500 million. So,
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think it was going to nearly cross 2 billion by the time it gets to the end of its run, which looks like it has a possibility to.
bro,
I didn't think
it might make even more than that. It's only been like it'll be 3 weeks this week.
I
Like,
know.
and
It's
that's the thing about James Cameron films. They're not designed to make money all at once. They're designed to make money for months and months on end, though. So,
it's funny because we look at something like Top Gun Maverick, and that
mhm.
movie did insanely well. Like Top Gun Maverick was the
Mm.
highest grossing film of the year.
Made like
And
$150 million opening weekend in North America. Yeah.
yeah, and then it just slowly like kept creeping. And we were even talking on Twitter, right? Like
Mm.
6 months later, it's still in the theater having multiple showings a day. But the
It was
fact
getting
that
it got re-released in early December, like 2 weeks before Avatar. It was like,
yeah, which is and that's wild to me. But also, I want to put in perspective. it took months, like months, for that movie to get where it is. Avatar beats it in 3 weeks.
Yeah. That's just, you know, they say, under no circumstance do you ever bet against Cameron. Just don't.
Never.
And I anxiously await in 2 years' time when we have this same conversation when Avatar 3 comes out.
We'll be right here talking about the Blue Cats once more. But yeah, going back to what Deadline was saying, they were also going on to say that this is the 7th consecutive year that Disney has been the top grossing studio. From 2016 to 2022, the Walt Disney Company has made all this cash off of their 16 theatrical releases. Those include Thor: Love and Thunder, Barbarian, Death on the Nile, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Lightyear, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You know,
that's crazy. Like,
it's.
I remember. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say it is crazy. It's wild, but also I think it's funny because I don't think a lot of people realize that Barbarian was a movie produced by the Walt Disney Company.
What was Barbarian again? Oh yeah, I saw that.
That was it was like a horror thriller that came out in like September, I think.
Oh yeah.
Starring Bill Skarsgård.
Oh, I remember this one with Bill Skarsgård. Yeah, okay. It was a 20th Century Studios film, so technically, yeah, made about $45 million. Look at that. Neat. Yeah, it's I don't even know. Like I don't even want to make a guess on how much Way of Water will make because it's gonna make a lot. Like there's no big film coming out until February, and even then,
which is another Disney film, by the way.
Yeah. I just saw like a list of all the films coming out in 2023. I'm just like, holy shit! Some of these are like a week. Or like week to week. I'm just like,
yeah. We actually did a video on that here on the channel. If you guys want to check that out, Leo from Geekly Goods and AJ from Geek Vibes Nation and I broke down every single week of 2023, and it's just like it's nothing but amazing movies. But also, you may notice that 90% of them are sequels, which is a scary thought. But you know, it is what it is.
I mean, when you think about it, 2022 was kind of the year of sequels, though, and like the three of my favorite movies this year were, you know, Glass Onion, Way of Water, and Top Gun Maverick. All sequels, technically. So
all sequels, yeah.
And like, those three films are nominated for big awards. So what's that say? I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I think it's time that we just embrace the sequels and the franchises because this year has proven that they can be good, right? With Glass Onion, with The Way of Water, with Maverick, especially Maverick. Like, man, that movie. I'm not even a Top Gun fan, and that thing blew me away of how good it was.
Well, I've said it before. The original Top Gun is just pinnacle 80s cheese. Top Gun Maverick is like Mad Max, Fury Road, Blade Runner 2049, and The Last Jedi rolled up into one movie, and it's like, holy shit.
Very true. It's so much fun, but yeah. Good luck to the other studios this year, because Disney is going to be on track to go 8 years in a row. I just think it's funny to compare and contrast them. It wouldn't
surprise me if like Paramount, for example, because they had an insane year. You know, they had like Top Gun Maverick, obviously, but they also had like Sonic 2, Jackass Forever, Scream 5. You know, all big movies, you know.
All big movies. I think the difference is Disney just has the volume, right? They're able to release 4 Marvel movies a year. That's going to make them at least 500 million on a bad year. So it's like
it is kind of nice that for once it's not like a Marvel or even a Star Wars film that's the highest grossing of the year. It's like, no, it's a movie about blue cat people.
Yeah, it's Avatar, it is Top Gun, and it's Jurassic Park, right? So yeah, I don't think a Marvel movie even cracked the top 3.
Oh, good.
Jurassic World Dominion.
How was that movie came out, made $1 billion, and I've heard nothing about it?
I am probably the biggest Jurassic Park fan you know, and I have not even seen it because I don't care.
I watched it like at my friend's place. He bought the extended edition. And there were times I'm just like, oh, what is this a Netflix film? Like, holy crap! It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And like, I don't know how you make a movie about dinosaurs so boring. Oh, jeez.
It's a dang shame, but people love the dinosaurs. They love Chris Pratt, even though the internet tells you otherwise. And
I don't like Chris Pratt. He's just weird to me. I don't know. Like when he posted that picture of his wife, look how healthy my wife is. She gave me a beautiful baby. I'm just like, buddy, shut up.
yeah, we're gonna move on from that. I have no idea.
If we ever talk about Avatar: The Way of Water in depth, I will go on about how my crazy theory about Avatar somehow came true. But more on that another day.
We'll have that conversation when we revisit The Way of Water. We have to. This is probably going to be the second biggest grossing film of all time, with the way it's on track, right? Cameron
wants his silver medal back.
And it's all going to just be Disney owned. Yeah. So the next story here, it's kind of funny because we're addressing a controversy that on this channel we haven't even talked about because it's stupid. So there was a report that came out that Wednesday was
the best kind of controversies, right? The stupid ones.
The stupid ones. Wednesday there was this rumor going around that Wednesday was going to leave Netflix. This started from The Independent because Netflix doesn't outright own the rights to Wednesday. They are licensing it from MGM and Amazon. So the rumor was, or the idea was, since it hasn't been renewed, because it's Netflix's biggest show, since it hasn't been renewed yet, Amazon might be trying to end that contract to have it on Prime Video. That is not true. This is coming from What's on Netflix. Shout out to Casey, friend of the show. He clarified everything here by saying, quote, "Our understanding of how this works is that Netflix essentially owns the option for the title for a fixed period of time, which means Netflix has ultimate control over the future of the series for the foreseeable future. Our intel suggests that the show is not renewed for a season 2. Our intel suggests that if the show is not renewed for a season 2, Netflix hangs on to season 1 for 10 years following its release, meaning it'll be on the platform until 2032. If the world still exists by then."
That's interesting to think about, and like, I don't know, like I admittedly have not seen Wednesday, so you can all throw your pitchforks at me though. But it's funny to think like just how copyright can work like that though. And I don't know if that's so much like an oversight on Netflix's part, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that can just kind of happen though. You can read into things like how Marvel, for example, they can't actually make a Hulk movie because it's something like Universal owns like distribution rights or something like that. I don't know the whole story behind it.
Yeah, the fun fact, the Hulk rights actually lapse, I think, this year in 2023. So don't be surprised if Comic-Con happens and Kevin Feige's like, Hulk movie, finally.
Oh, good. They can finally give an apology for Hulk's god-awful storyline in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Hot take, I'm not big on Endgame, kids, but too bad. That's a video for another day.
It's fine. Hey, Isaac, welcome to the show.
Never bet against Cameron, I suppose. Also funny how you mentioned Wednesday on Wednesday. Oh, yeah, time zones, Well, gotta go. Have it awesome, guys. So thank you, Isaac.
Have it awesome, Isaac. Yeah, for us, it's Wednesday on a Tuesday, but I'm glad it lined up for you that way. Wednesday on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good. Where is he located? Like Europe or something?
Sweden, man. All the way in Sweden. It's probably like 2 a.m. over there right now.
Well, isn't that sweet?
One thing that Casey highlights in his What's on Netflix article about Wednesday, I want to just pull this in because this was fascinating. He says, quote, "The only time in Netflix's history we've seen a Netflix original pulled is when Disney bought back the rights to Daredevil, The Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and The Defenders."
Yeah.
They paid over $1 billion for that, he revealed.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that wasn't cheap. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's worth talking about right quick. Was it worth paying over $1 billion to get these shows back when it seems like, and going off of everything Charlie Cox has been saying, those shows aren't going to be continuations. They're essentially just reboots. So why do they have to pay for them at all?
Well, I see it just my OCD brain. I'm trying to imagine this from more of like a business perspective and just like, for convenience, it's like, hey, all these shows are now here on Disney Plus, though, so enjoy them while they're here, though. And my OCD brain is just like, oh, good, I don't need to invest in all these streaming services just to watch, Daredevil be Daredevil. But you're right, like Charlie Cox has said, though, it's like, yeah, don't expect to see, I know everyone's already making jokes about Daredevil Born Again basically just being like every other MCU thing, but like, yeah, it's probably going to be like that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Like, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your ass. So, like, don't expect, like, I mean, God, Jessica Jones had a thing about, like, a character needed to have an abortion, for God's sake, though. Don't ever expect that in a Disney Plus show anytime soon. Like,
yeah, I'm still shocked. I know you guys have a different version of Disney Plus, but the fact that series is even allowed on US Disney Plus is just kind of shocking because it's very censored over here. Like Hulu, it's its own thing, and that's where all the more mature content goes. So it's like, it almost like felt like they were bringing these shows over to signal, hey, when we reintroduce them in the MCU, the tone is going to be the same. But they're going out of their way to say it's not. So I'm just wondering if it was worth $1 billion.
Well, again, just for the convenience thing of like, hey, they're here, and now you can just kind of enjoy them, I guess. So, but I guess, for clarification, yes, in Canada, we do not have Hulu. We have, they had this update called the Star update on Disney Plus, though. And that basically all of Hulu's content is on there, though. So you can be watching like some Mickey Mouse show and then immediately find like Super Troopers or something like that.
I love it. I hate having to pay for 2 different services over here. It sucks, but
I'm amazed they didn't think to combine them into 2, but I don't know. Go figure.
Yeah, even if they charge double, like and combine the prices of 2, I'd rather at least them be in one location.
When we had the Star update, there was no price increase or anything like that. So yeah,
nice.
But yeah, it is one of those things to just what I was saying about copyright. It is one of those things that can just kind of like, it can happen just like that, though. And you don't really know, like, I watched Dan Olson's good video. He was talking about the animated Lord of the Rings film from like the 70s. And he said, this was interesting. This thing, I don't remember the exact words he said, though, but basically there was this weird copyright issue involving them, though, that weirdly didn't come into fruition until the Hobbit films were being made. So just a case of like, hey, something that happened like 30, 40 years earlier can have a bit of a snowball effect that can, affect you over severely down the line now. Yeah. I don't remember all the details, but it was interesting to think like, oh, okay, that's, it's like go back in time and hit a butterfly and your future's fucked, basically. Pardon my French. Sorry.
That's crazy that all those years, right? And it finally hits a snag. I do wonder with Wednesday, like it is weird how it is the most watched show on Netflix, like beating Stranger Things and everything that's ever premiered on the platform.
Well, we just have to take their word for it, right? Because they don't ever actually release their numbers. So
that's what I was just about to get to, right? Is that for Wednesday to be the most popular show of all time, Netflix, why haven't you officially greenlit season 2? Is it that Tim Burton doesn't want to do season 2? Because this makes no sense. It feels like it's an easy call.
It's like Warner Brothers took forever to announce a sequel to the Batman. It's like your movie was pretty well received and made nearly $800 million.
Yeah,
announced like 10 films at this point, though.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, hopefully everything's well with Wednesday with season 2. And it's gonna stay on Netflix regardless whether it gets canceled or it gets renewed. But
or wait, you mean after Netflix cancels it after one season, like they do with every show from now on?
Let's hope not, because Wednesday is actually really fun. If you're a Burton fan, you're definitely gonna like it.
No, maybe I'll give it a watch one day when my girlfriend wants to watch it. So
yeah, it's a fun series. But I do think it's fun that we're talking about streaming, right? Because that leads us into the next topic, and that is the Purge at HBO Max. It's been going on for all of 2022, and right now it's
Yeah.
just carrying on to 2023.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
this is coming from Variety. HBO Max removes 256 episodes of the Looney Tunes and 3 seasons of the Flintstones. This is so weird to me because they own all of this content. And we'll get into some of it a little bit, but like, does that shock you that they took away like 15 seasons worth of Looney Tunes content from their platform?
That's just, it's one of those weird things to kind of wrap your head around, though. Like, I have no idea why. But like, that's just like, I have friends who just like own everything they watch is via streaming now, and it's like one of those things. Like, I often joke if a show is not on streaming, does it really exist? But
Really?
even more so for some shows, considering they don't get physical media releases or anything like that. So it's like, oh wow, did it really exist? Like, it became an unshow or something like that.
Stranger Things hasn't had a Blu-ray release since like season 2. So can you imagine if Netflix just gets wiped clean? Those last 2 seasons just don't exist anymore, never to be seen again. It's insane.
Just various clips on YouTube though. Like,
yeah.
Like I'm crusty old white guy. I enjoy my physical media though. Yeah, my older brother my brothers make fun of me for it though. I'm just like, well, if you own a movie physically, then it's like you own it though. So, when you're in it, so, if your internet goes down or they take it off streaming, it's like I can watch it whenever I want though. So, like, my girlfriend makes fun of me though. It's like I got this big line to Titanic in my house, but if Titanic's not on Netflix, I'm so lazy I won't open and put the Blu-ray in the console or anything like that.
But you own it, and that's what matters, right? Nobody can take it.
I own a friggin' laser disc of it though. Where am I gonna I've never seen a laser disc anywhere.
When the apocalypse comes and all we have are laser discs, you'll have Titanic. Like The Last of Us comes out in a couple weeks, and it just reminds you of like, what if something really bad happens and technology just stops and we have to rely on VHS tapes again?
That was a plot point in Last of Us Part 2, I remember. It's like Ellie collects VHS tapes, movies and stuff. So
yep.
Yeah. But no, it is kind of crazy. Like, I have no idea what's going on at Warner Brothers. Like, it's a little insane. It's like you want to be a studio that like shows off this stuff, and here you are just taking it away from people just like that. Like, if it was like a season or 2, I'd get it. But this was like, as you say, 256 episodes.
Yeah,
that's insane. It's a lot,
Hopefully Variety can clear things up a little bit. This is what they had to say. Quote, as of December 31st, HBO Max has removed seasons 16 through 31 of the original Looney Tunes library. Still remaining on the service are Looney Tunes seasons 1 through 15, which comprise 255 shorts spanning from 1930 to 1949. The shorts that were deleted were released from 1950 to 2004. That is insane, man. That's wild. Anyway, those include Where's Opera Doc, Feed the Kitty, Duck Amuck, and One Froggy Evening. I know.
That's like the greatest Looney Tunes thing ever. Like, holy crap.
These are some of the most iconic moments in their history. That's so, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, HBO Max has also pulled seasons 4 through 6 of The Flintstones, a total of 78 episodes. The first 3 seasons of the Hanna-Barbera classic are still available on the service. And I just added a note here for context. Bam Bam is introduced in season 4, episode 3. Pebbles was born at the end of season 3. So everything, including their children and like the new format of the series, is just gone. Doesn't exist on HBO Max.
That's crazy. It's like, I guess to draw a comparison, it's like I'm just imagining some kid watching that or something and just being like, well, what happens after that though? It's like, where's the rest of it though? Like, it's like when Netflix puts a show on. It's like when Netflix gets a show or something, they only have like 1 or 2 seasons or something like that. It's like, where's the rest of it? It's like this show is 6 seasons long.
Yeah, it's literally the Zuko meme from Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's just
Where's
like,
the rest
where
of
is it?
Don't touch,
Shout out.
Brandon, the Scarlet fan. Don't touch my Looney Tunes. Yes,
I'm with you, BA. You don't mess with the Looney Tunes. So Variety went on to say the Looney Tunes and Flintstones content was licensed to HBO Max from Warner Brothers under an intra-company deal. Those expired at the end of 2022, and HBO Max did not renew the deals as it seeks to reduce content expenses. It's unclear whether the Looney Tunes and Flintstones content that is no longer on HBO Max will be available on another platform. I mean, I'm sure they'll probably move it to Boomerang because Boomerang has its own app outside of HBO Max, which is dumb. But I just think it's fascinating that the idea that HBO Max, which is owned by Warner Brothers, had to make a deal with Warner Brothers to license Warner Brothers content onto the Warner Brothers streaming service, and then didn't want to pay Warner Brothers anymore. Like, I know they're different set.
Mike, I just realized this is the opening crawl to the Phantom Menace. Holy shit. Where it's like the Trade Federation is paying itself to be stuck in front of a planet or something.
That's why it's like, I'm sure there's somebody who understands the streaming wars better than us that can probably break this down. But it's just like, from the outside looking in, it's like, so let me get this straight. You made a contract with yourself and got in debt with yourself, and you don't want to pay yourself.
This is basically punching yourself in the face and wondering why your face hurts,
Yeah. It's
I saw a great tweet from Scott Mendelson once of I guess he doesn't write for Forbes anymore. He said, "Wouldn't it be funny if Tubi ends up winning the streaming wars?"
Hey, at this point, it's not off the table because Netflix is still in a boatload of debt. Disney, they're going to release one show a month. It feels like at this point, so it's like,
didn't they just have like $1 billion
it might be Prime
loss
Video right now?
Didn't they just have like some huge loss, Disney Plus or something, like last quarter? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, and again, this is probably why Iger took over for Disney again. Is that's like, we're gonna just go back to theatrical and we'll go back to streaming later. We'll figure that out later. Too many things are being just dropped there and losing money.
And Bob Chapek was kind of a dumbass though, but still figure.
He was, yeah. That's all we've got though for the HBO Max stuff. I do think it's we're making light of it, but I do want to address that HBO Max and Warner Brothers, I'm sure, are still different sections of the company and they have their own dealings. But I just think it's weird how nobody can step in and say, hey, you guys just share and get along, right? For free. We're good. Golden. Don't mess with Looney Tunes. Put that on the YouTube channel. Looney Tunes is an American icon like baseball. It should be free. That's all I got to say there. God. Jack, was there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap this one up?
No, I think I'll save this if we ever talk about Avatar: The Way of Water. It's this great tweet from this parody account I saw, but it's just, I'm going to save it because I saw it today and I showed it to a friend of mine and we couldn't stop laughing. So
if it's not a spoiler, we could just throw it up now. Why not?
Okay. I'll send you a picture of it. There's this parody account I follow called Lay Cinephiles. They do like funny little film parody stuff and whatnot. They did a great one. This is back in December 28th. Breaking: Avatar: The Way of Water director James Cameron allegedly sent a picture of his massive penis to Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige and to James Gunn of DC and says, "It's my yard now."
Jesus.
And then the quote tweet says, the crazy thing is Cameron would probably do that.
He would. I love James Cameron's work. I love just about all his movies. But that dude's ego, like as happy as I am that everybody who worked on this film, they're getting success. It would have been so funny if he would have taken just a small hit. But now it's like, it's just gonna blow up even bigger. His head's gonna blow up even bigger.
You don't bet against Cameron. You just don't.
You don't. You
Like
don't.
like the fight scenes in his movies. You barely survive against him. No, that's the thing.
It's true.
But I'm happy Avatar's making money. Even though I think obsessing over box office is dumb, but I'm doing it anyway.
It's one of those things where this is the only time where I feel like it's warranted, right? Because for the last 12 years, nobody cares about Avatar. Nobody remembers anybody's name, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, well, I'm glad we can just lay that all to rest. Can we stop with the Avatar Airbender memes, though? It's called The Way of Water. It was funny for a week. Can we move on?
Well, I think I called it. My other speculation was that came true. He said Avatar 3 will be about a fire Avatar tribe. I'm just like, I knew it. I figured the moment I saw Way of Water, I was like, all right, the next one's going to be about a different tribe, maybe fire related or something.
Of course.
So,
you know what? He can't escape it. That's the curse of being named Avatar, I guess, that they'll always share similarities.
Yeah. But I think that's it for the news. I think that we have to cover. Nothing else has happened. I hope Jeremy Renner. Hope he gets a speedy recovery, because getting run over by a snowplow sounds painful. So
I'm glad you mentioned Jeremy Renner, because I actually had that queued up. He went to Instagram today. Yeah, he's not looking too hot, but he was able to put up an Instagram post, and he says, "Thank you all for your kind words," prayer emoji. "I'm too messed up to type, but I send love to you all." Jeremy, we're sending love to you as well. Speedy recovery. That's an awful, awful accident. So we're wishing you the best, my friend.
I'm sure some video of it will surface eventually or something where I'll just be like, holy crap. I've heard that. I'm like, wait, what? This is unfolding. What do you mean he was run over by a snowplow? And then it was like, oh, okay.
It's not ideal at all, but wishing you a speedy recovery.
Of all things to be run over by a snowplow does not sound like fun.
No, it's awful. But guys, that is the news for today. If you enjoyed this video, check us out on YouTube, The Chatter After. Hit that subscribe button, bell for notifications so you can catch us every single day. We just released an episode of The Chatter After this morning. It's about The Shawshank Redemption with Ryan Cam. It is amazing. Check that out. And Jack, our episode for Glass Onion drops on the 16th. So it's awesome if you want to hear us, along with Brandon, talk about one of the best movies of last year. The best movie on Netflix, apparently. It cracked the top 10 of all time.
Yes. I agree with that.
Allegedly, Netflix, we still can't trust your numbers, but if you tell us it's doing well, we'll assume it's doing well. We love Benoit Blanc.
Jeez. I mean, I love all those memes where it's like, it's the one scene from No Time to Die. It's like real Benoit Blanc energy in this scene. And then someone did a great edit. They put that scene in Knives Out.
So good. Jack, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's been fun talking movie news. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CaptainJJB84. My YouTube channel is also named that. My Steam name is also that. Xbox, PlayStation. I'm on Instagram too, but my name there is different. It's at JackConrad94. My old Instagram got hacked. I just on a bit of hiatus for YouTube videos, but I want to get back into it. I built a big shiny computer, so I guess I have to do it soon enough. But thanks for having me as usual. I think every time I appear, I'm just going to have to show up really dirty now, because it's kind of the aesthetic now for whenever I appear. So I think I'm going to have to keep doing that.
2023 is your grunge era, That's just what it is. Until next time, guys, keep watching movies. Stay awesome. Peace.